Alright, so here's that piece that was really rotted, tapered at the end, came up like that. And I had to cut off quite a bit, maybe about 4, 5, 6 inches of that. And I'm finally getting to the point where I got some meaty part here in the center that will hold the lathe spindle. And the rest of this is obviously real rotted, but I'm not sure how far back the rot goes, and instead of cutting it and having a shorter piece, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the lathe, turn all this rotted stuff off, which might be a little hazardous, might get some flying chunks of wood at me. But that way, if I end up with a longer piece, I can either make 2 short tap handles out of this or make a longer piece that tapers up and have room to work with putting my tap insert thread and stuff like that in it. So anyway, I'm gonna stop cutting. I'm gonna stop cutting that there and go ahead and see how this turns out. Haha, pun, turns out. Okay, so I just got done knocking some of the corners off of this piece of wood here. This was the one that was real rotted there in the center, and it's really beefy. It's really beefy down here on this end, and so I marked out 3 circles that are like minimum tap size that I would want, and I think I can get 3 round taps out of this if I cut it just right. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and we'll see how that comes out. Alright, so it looks like one of my cuts can be right up center. I've got a flat side there. It's fairly flat. It was just the flat side of the dimensional part. At any rate, so I cut it between those two, then I can get at these other cuts a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this up against the saw, and I'm going to lower the saw until it would cut just up through that and not cut into my other circle here. So if I can run that saw right down the middle there, I'll be able to get 2 round pieces on either side of that. So that's the first thing we're going to do is run that saw right down there and cut it. Alright, so there's my first cut. You can see it came out pretty near perfect. Cut right up through the middle there, and now I got to come in this way or that way to join up with it, and I may put this on the belt sander for a little bit, see if I can get me at least a little bit of a flat edge over here to make cutting this a little bit easier. Alright, you can see I put that on the belt sander and got me just a little bit of a flat edge there, enough to push it through, and that cut there came out pretty good. Happy with that, so I'm going to put one more cut right up over here, and then we'll try to get me 3 taps out of this particular piece of wood. Alright, got the third cut in there. I'm pretty happy with that. I was waiting for this thing to just fall apart into pieces as I pushed the last cut through, but it held on, fortunately, because that could have been a little hazardous. Anyway, I'm hoping that I can perform a magic trick, drop this on the ground and watch it break into 3 perfect pieces. Wouldn't that be cool? And it didn't work, but that's okay. There's one piece, and I'll have to hit that with a hammer or something, maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now we got 3 pieces there to work with. Alright, so now that these are way out around again, what I have to do is I have to trim off some of these corners here to get a little square piece of wood before we put it in the lathe. And you can see that piece there is really rotted down, so I may only get a very small tap handle out of that. This one, pretty much the same deal. Although this one here I can probably get a much larger tap handle out of, but I think overall it'll come out good. Plus I get lots of side grain effects when I turn this. Okay, so I'm still working with these pieces of rotted wood. You can see I cut that off, and I'm trying to figure out how to get the tap handle insert into these before I start turning them. So that will just make things easier. So I think I've got it figured out. Of course, one of the challenges is I'm trying to use as much of this wood as possible, which means I'm working with rotted wood on the end, and so I've had to make a couple attempts at trying to get that to stick in the this chuck right here, that chuck right there. So anyway, what I'm doing with this piece is I've marked the center of that, and I'm getting ready to drill a hole so that I can put the tap in that hole, and it's going to be perfectly centered. This one here I drilled, and I'm not 100% sure that's going to be perfectly centered because I didn't do it quite the same way as I'm going to do this one. Anyway, once I get that done, I'm going to take one of these bolts. This is a 3/8 bolt that will fit the tap center, and I'm going to put it in here, put the tap insert into the piece of wood, and then I'm going to turn it with the insert in there to where the tap is going to be perfectly turned around that tap center. So that way when I'm done, I don't have to worry about going back and trying to drill the hole down the middle and get the insert in there straight and everything else. So we'll see how that works. Alright, so I'm not sure if this is the way I'm supposed to be doing things, but what I've done is I've moved the tool rest up to keep that block of wood from turning, so that way I can turn this down here, and this will push the wood onto the spinning bit, and I can drill a hole that's going to be centered down the piece of wood. You see I've got a black mark on the drill bit that tells me how deep I need to go into this wood. And we'll just keep turning this, pushing it onto the drill bit. And we're in there far enough, so I'm going to back it out, and then I'm going to put the insert in there. Okay, so I've got my 3/8 bolt in there, and I've got a couple nuts on there to act as jam nuts to keep this from going too far. And here's my insert that I need to put in the tap. So I'm just going to screw that on there, and then I'm going to take my piece of wood that I have the hole drilled in here, and I'm going to put that on this end, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to push this up against there, and I'm going to turn it probably by hand to make sure that it doesn't go in and strip out or anything. But I'm going to turn that and push that in there to where that insert should be perfectly centered around the center of the wood. Alright, so I decided to turn this into like a little beer bottle shape, and at the because we had that flat spot show up there, and at the last minute we developed a crack in it, and the reason for that is pretty obvious. You can see when I unchucked this, this kept trying to spin this up into the piece of wood, and my jam nuts are actually up in there and creating pressure and splitting the wood. So I'm going to have to rethink how to get that insert up in there and be able to turn it with that insert in there. So here's my third attempt at that piece of wood that we're trying to get 3 taps out of. The first tap came out just fine. However, in the process of turning it, I tried using a 1/4 inch drill driver bit to act as a center, and since it was not a live center really, it kind of burned the bottom a little bit, but it'll still be usable. So on this one, what we're trying is I've got a 3/8 screw with a couple jam nuts on it, and a piece of, or a couple washers here, which hopefully will keep this from going too far into the wood. The last one just screwed its way all the way up in there, and that's not what we wanted. So we're going to try this washer method with the jam nuts and see if that works a little better. Alright, so I just hand spun that to get that threaded up in this piece of wood, and we're going to get ready to spin it and turn it and see if we can get something turned in the pattern turned in it before anything disastrous happens. Okay, it looks like this jam nut and washer setup is holding. So I've got this turned down, but you can see the rotted part comes down here a fairly long ways. So we're just going to keep turning that a little bit and try to get rid of it and see how much we're left with. Hopefully it'll be enough there to make a short tap out of. Alright, we got done turning this guy. There was enough there to get a tap handle out of. And we're going to take this jam nut off and make sure that that didn't screw up in there. I don't think it did, but we're going to check it out real quick. Alright, so we got that jam nut loosened up, and just going to take this off. You can see that I left it just a little bit out, and it is right where we left it. So I think that method is going to work just fine. I'll just take and screw that in manually the rest of the way where it's flush, and we'll cut the top of that off and sand it down, and we'll have another tap handle ready.